I'm Mallory Begay.
I'm Linda Kernahan.
This is WKAR. I'm Sophia Salaby.
We're staying true to our values. We're staying true to what we know we do really well.
You're listening to 90.5 Classical.
Community members want to know what's happening.
How can people have conversations around them?
Understanding how WKAR fits into the scene here.
All right, I'm joined again by Sophia Salaby, our host of All Things Considered, and we're welcoming to the stage Linda Kernahan, host and producer of 90.5 Classical. Welcome to you both. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Ashley.
I'm really excited to chat through some of the things that we have coming this year to both classical and to news. So I'm going to start with you, Linda. I mentioned a little bit ago we have an initiative going on this year for America's 250th birthday. Semi-quincentennial, if anyone wants to try to say it. It's a tongue twister. The classical team is going to be curating some new content, which is really exciting. And I'd love to hear just a little bit more about what's coming.
So we're going to be producing a series of short videos. We're producing a series of short videos called Sounds and Stripes Forever. And all three of us, well, at least I can speak for myself, I'm still kind of learning to get the hang of being on video. It's radio, so I'm not usually used to that, but it's great to be learning that new skill. And I'm excited about it because we're going to highlight American composers. So each video will be 1 to 2 minutes long, and it will focus on one American composer. We'll give a bit about their background and how they work and what they've done, and then we'll give listening recommendations so that people can find out more about these composers and the music that we're writing. And an exciting thing is they come from all periods of history. So there are living composers, but then historical composers too, so quite a variety in the music that we're going to highlight there. And then another thing we're doing that I'm really excited about is a series on composers who have immigrated to the United States. Classical music has its roots in Western Europe, so it is by definition an imported art form. But of course, it has taken root here in the United States, and a lot of that has to do with the musicians who came here from abroad. Especially during World War II, many composers were fleeing Europe and they came here. Many of them became film composers, but it's gone on, from the 19th century, maybe even earlier, and up till today. So I want to highlight those composers and performers who have come from abroad and added so much to our American culture.
Absolutely, thank you. This is the first time anybody's hearing about this, I think. So you guys are getting a sneak peek at what we have to come. Sounds and Stripes Forever is going to be week leading up to July 4th, right?
That's right. There will be, I think, 2 videos per day posted on social media, starting in late June and leading up to July 4th.
Yep. And your specials will be in your Friday show every Friday leading up in July or June?
Yes, it's going to be every Friday leading up to July 3rd will be the last one. So it's 4 specials. They'll play on Friday mornings at 11, and then we're going to repeat them on Saturday afternoons at 4 o'clock.
Yes, thank you. Very exciting. So definitely tune in for those. Our classical team is also out in the community a lot. You're at events, at concerts. I would love for you to share a little bit about what it means for WKAR to be present in the community and why you feel that it's important for the work that you do.
Well, music is all about connection, and when we're hosting on air, we're alone in the studio with the microphone, and we know that there are tens of thousands of people on the other end, but we don't get to see them. So going out into the community is the way that we connect with our listeners, and it's so wonderful to talk to people. During this time period before we lost our federal funding, we had so many people coming up to us and saying, are you going to be okay? Are you still going to be doing what you're doing? We assured them that we were going to get through it. To know that it was so important to people was very encouraging through that challenging time. There are people who come up and tell us that, you're the soundtrack to our lives. It's really wonderful. And I just was a concert guide for a concert last week, and we had people coming up to us and just thanking us for what we do. And it makes it so that when I get up in the morning, I don't say I have to go to work. I say I get to go to work.
That's what you love to hear. Absolutely. And speaking of community, this past year we launched a new series called Community Classical. Could you share a bit more with everyone about what that project is and what your experience has been like?
Yeah, so this has been so exciting, and I always want to make sure people know that this was Jamie Paisley's brainchild, our classical program director, but he invited me in, and we've been trading off the co-hosting duties on this show. So we put out a call for people to send us their playlist ideas. So we said, do you want to come on and co-host an hour of classical music with one of us? So we got some great submissions, and people came in, and we co-hosted the hour. And what I've learned about it is that, and it confirms something I already knew, that classical music accompanies people on some of the most important moments in their lives. So many people over and over again, they would talk about, this piece was important to me with my spouse or with my kids growing up or milestone events in my life. And that just, made it clear how important music is to all of us, and hearing people's stories. It was wonderful. I think it's one of the best things that we've been doing, honestly. We're repeating our first season right now, and our second season is going to start production in September.
I think we have a web page if you want to sign up to be a host on Community Classical. You can check that out. It really was a wonderful experience. I think you're right about music accompanying you for life. I also did an episode.
That's right. I got to co-host an episode with Ashley. It was wonderful.
But there's so much I didn't think about until I started curating the playlist that I wanted to use. It's, I played this with my dad when I was, 10 at the piano for the first time. And this was the music from the Nutcracker in 4th grade when I was a candy flute. And it's a walk through time. It's a great memory, great experience for bringing back memories. Thank you, Linda. I'm going to jump over to you, Sophia. We're going to switch to news, which is very different from classical. What's new for the newsroom? What's changed in this last year?
A lot. You probably didn't hear it, but we've gone through a lot of change in the newsroom over the past year and a half. Due to some staff turnover, we basically have not had a full-time reporter since November of 2024. We've relied on some great freelancers who you've probably heard on the radio at this point, and we've relied a lot on them. But I think we're at the point where we are bringing on a full-time reporter. So that's all because of community support and knowing that you all care about the news and we want to be able to provide that news. So that's huge for us. We've started a newsletter. I don't know if there's any Signal subscribers in the room, but we have a weekly newsletter that comes out on Sundays that kind of highlights some stories from the past week and previews the week ahead, whether it's meetings, stories that we're keeping a watch out for. So those are kind of two of the biggest things that are changing in the newsroom, but we are in the studios every day. We are out in the field every day telling the news stories that we think are important to our community.
Yeah, there's been such growth that I've seen in the newsroom and the amount of content you all have been able to share, and it's been really impressive. And this Signal newsletter, if you haven't signed up, definitely do it. I look at it every Sunday because it just prepares you for the week ahead. It's such a fantastic resource. So shifting gears a little to the election, which we have coming up. We know this is a huge one. We've got a lot of races going on here in Michigan. Can you talk to us about what races or issues you're watching closely?
How long do we have?
7 minutes and 26 seconds.
So this is a huge election year, which I'm sure probably a lot of you are aware of. We have a gubernatorial election. We have an open Senate seat. We have all the state house seats, some of the state Senate seats. Jackson's mayor is up for that will be an open election as well. And I'm also thinking about millages. Our Impact Michigan episode was about housing and property taxes. And I think a lot of people are thinking about maybe that millage request is not an immediate yes anymore, which is impacting communities in different ways. And I think as a whole, this midterm is going to be, I think, a big test nationally for how people are feeling about the current administration. And Michigan has its role as a swing state. So I think there's a lot that is going to be kind of decided here, and then that will set up the presidential election. So it is April, but it feels like November is like 2 blinks away. And I think we're going to be, doing interviews with candidates, trying to bring all of that information together so people can kind of make the right choice for them at the ballot box.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Impact Michigan, because I think that's a great example of how we're trying to bring TV and radio together. I believe one of our freelance reporters was doing some explainer videos for us on social media. Is that Leanne?
Yes, Leanne Town.
Yeah, so we're trying to bring as much together as we possibly can. And Linda mentioned it as well with the videos we're doing in classical music. We're really excited about being able to keep breaking down some barriers between different platforms. So news, also, our coverage has been expanding to cover deeper dives on issues than we've been able to do in the past. Tell us about some of the stories we have coming up.
Ashley knows about these stories because I can't stop talking about them in the office. So obviously, when I host All Things Considered, it is the top news stories of the day. So when I get to do a longer piece, I try to do something that is maybe a little bit off the beaten path. So I have a story coming up about the history of the Morse Park Pool in Lansing. This is a more than 100-year-old pool that has been closed for the last 6-8 years, but has gotten money to restore it. It will be opening back up in June. So I've talked to people across generations about how they've used this pool and how it's played a role in their lives. So I'm really excited about that. For America 250, a lot of us are taking deeper dives into historical moments in Michigan's history. And I am doing a profile of the people who are working to fundraise to build a museum in honor of the Bath school disaster. This happened 100 years ago next year. So the 99th anniversary is actually on a couple Mondays from now, where a disgruntled school board member was not happy about property taxes and, committed an act of terror that killed a lot of children. It's quite sad, but the community, I think, in the past 100 years has gone from not talking about it to talking about it, and now they're in a place where they're trying to fundraise to build a museum to commemorate it, now that a lot of the survivors have passed away. So those are 2 stories, and then should I mention?
Do it.
Guys, I'm going to do a story about pigeon racing. I'm so excited. I am laying the groundwork now to go to a pigeon race, which apparently is not that exciting because they set them off in Indiana and then you just see them kind of fly into their loft at the very end. But I have made contact with the Lansing Pigeon Racing Club, and you were like, how did she figure that out? But the Capital Area District Library's archive has a bunch of old pictures, and I've been fascinated because in the 40s, during World War II, there was a civilian defense force, and there was a homing pigeon club. You can find these pictures on, like, right now online. Don't take out your phone though. But anyway, so I was like, what was this? And I found out there's a modern day club that races pigeons. So at some point this year, you'll hear about that. Some cooing noises.
Sophia's very excited about the pigeons.
I can't stop talking about this. I'm so sorry.
We're looking forward to that one. So I have a last question for both of you, and I think this is a really important one. We talked about how both of you and both of your departments are trying to move more into embracing and working with video as well. However, radio is one of the oldest mediums that still has life, like a lot of life. And so I'd love to hear, in this fast-paced digital world that we have, where new products are coming out seemingly every day, why does radio still matter? And I'll start with you, Linda.
Well, all of this technology that we've been using, I think it had the goal of connecting us. At first, it seemed like the internet was going to be the great democratizer, but we have ended up, for some reason, I think, being more alone than ever. And so to have something that connects us and where we are connected with our local community, I think is just really important. I think people are hungering for it. I know I am, to be more connected with people in the physical space, and also just knowing that there are other people out there listening to the same thing you're listening to. You could go on Spotify and just say, play me classical music, and the algorithm would go forever. but having people who are knowledgeable about it present it with a point of view and with themes. And, you know, the driveway moment is a real thing. I know, at least for me, there are things that people just want to hear going on live and knowing that other people are there listening with you. I think we all need that kind of human connection in our lives.
I agree. Thank you. And in our last minute, Sophia?
I think there's a reason why WKAR has been around for more than 100 years. I think there's a reason why PBS has been around for decades, why NPR has been around for more than 50 years. It's because of the focus on community and the focus on mission. That's why people give and support WKAR. And I think the important thing is that I think everybody on this stage, everybody here at WKAR knows that. And so you're going to see different, you know, us expanding into digital, us expanding on our website, on social media, on different platforms. But the mission isn't what's changing. And I think that partnership, that trust that's been built over decades and decades and decades is where it pays off now.
Yes, absolutely. Linda, Sophia, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Always lovely talking to you both.